great to see you too, and so excited that you're here to join me today. I am excited to learn more about Salvation Army and the things that you're doing. So welcome everyone who is watching or going to be joining us soon. It's actually been a while since I've done a live. There's been a lot going on in the world and in the sector. So thank you to those of you who were interested in today's OC mission highlight with Captain Nesan Kistan, the CEO of Salvation Army here in Orange County. And so we're going to learn more about Salvation Army. I think people know the name, but there's many chapters, right, in the world.
Correct.
And so we're going to learn today specifically what's going on here in Orange County around the organization, because you're new to the organization, and then also how you're adjusting to COVID and all the kind of fun, innovative changes that are going on in the way that we that you are addressing the homelessness and shelters here in Orange County. So thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah. So let's start with you, Captain Nesan.
Right.
Why don't you talk to us about your journey through Salvation Army? Because I know there's something behind the captain. And then clearly you migrated here from somewhere. So
well, Victoria, that's a great question, and I'm happy to share with you and your listeners a little bit about who I am. I was born in South Africa and migrated to Australia in 1981. Parents obviously dealing with the apartheid situation of South Africa found itself in Australia, which is a bit like America in a number of ways. It's the land of freedom and opportunity. It's a land of liberty. And so we found ourselves in Australia. I was only 8 years of age. And then last 3 years, I have been redeployed. But
oh no!
Sorry,
it's okay.
We were in midstream and something took place.
The joys.
Thing, I promise.
The joys of technology. It's okay. It's okay. Everyone is so understanding these days. It's fun, and it's just the way it is.
I had one of our technical guys set it up for me, and I was sitting here talking. And but Victoria, you asked me a question, and let's get straight back into it. You asked me a question about my journey from the story behind who I am. I was born in South Africa, born in the height of apartheid. Found my parents and migrated to Australia. My father was a skilled professional, found himself in Australia. Similar to America, a land of liberty, opportunity, and freedom, and spent the majority of my adulthood in Australia. But the last 3 years have seen the Salvation Army, which is a global organization, redeploy myself, my family here to Orange County. And this July will be 3 years where we have lived in this beautiful part of the world in Southern California, Orange County.
That's great. That's awesome. And so you've spent your whole career with Salvation Army, correct?
No, I started off working professionally in another sector. And then, midway through, I suppose the Salvation Army is known throughout the world as an organization that helps people who are most vulnerable. It's a mission-based organization, so it has a Christian value base. And we believe that, when people are needing help, and I felt compelled by that. I felt its mission, its values, its all that it stood for was a really compelling reason why I linked arms with the Salvation Army, and I'm serving with it today.
That's wonderful. And so you came here with your family, correct? So
correct,
wherever you were.
Yep, we left Sydney, Australia 3 years ago, not knowing too much about what's happening here in Orange County, and we found ourselves in the thick of it.
Wonderful. And so tell me a little bit more about Salvation Army and the breadth of programmings. I mean, you're not just about sheltering the vulnerable. Oops. Here we go. Hi.
Hey, Victoria, what is going on? I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You know what? I've been having fun conversations with people, a couple people that are hanging on with us, but someone said, I like your disappearing act. You should take it on the road. So we're all good. But it's totally fine. We're rolling with it. It's good. No worries. Okay, so make sure someone said I'm on mute. So hopefully they can hear me now. So if you can hear me, we should be good.
I can hear you. You can hear me. Can you see me?
I can see you. I can see you. Yes. Okay.
Right.
So we left off on the breadth of what Salvation Army does. So you're more about shelters. So why don't you talk about what Salvation Army is doing here in Orange County?
So the Salvation Army does a breadth of things here in Orange County. Obviously, it's more than just simply doing shelters, and it's more than just simply doing what people famously know us for, is ringing the kettle bell and standing on the street corner around Christmas time. The Salvation Army obviously does three very critical things that is at the very core of its business. Obviously, one is its comprehensive response to homelessness. And it's been doing that in more than 134 countries across the globe for the last 150 years. Secondly, the Salvation Army is our adult rehabilitation programs where we help people with drug, alcohol rehabilitation. That's something that is very foundational to who the Salvation Army is, right back to 1865 with Catherine and William Booth. And then, thirdly, what we really are well regarded for is our work with those who have suffered from human trafficking. Our anti trafficking programs are comprehensive and global. And then, obviously, there's a number of other things that people see us whenever there's a crisis or an emergency, Hurricane Katrina or the hurricanes in Florida. The Salvation Army has always been at the forefront of responses to critical crises that face our world.
Awesome, great. And maybe say a little bit more, what's the extent of the work in Orange County? So what locations are you in? And is there more prominent area you're in Orange County?
Obviously, the two most critical areas facing homelessness in Orange County is Santa Ana and Anaheim. And the Salvation Army is currently very, very invested and engaged in our program and work with homelessness in Orange County. Our work has expanded.
Oh, bummer. Oh my gosh. This has been a fun one, guys. Okay, so I can answer those questions. Thank you, John, for some some in between commentary. So, oh, he's back. I'm still there.
I just get a message coming up saying the stream has ended.
No, you're here.
Oh, good.
So you just, I don't know why you just keep getting lost. It keeps going away for some reason, but we'll work through it. So,
so yes, so the Salvation Army's homeless programs and initiatives have more than quadrupled. We are building a comprehensive strategy in Anaheim. One of the biggest underlying values the Salvation Army has is to end chronic homelessness in Orange County, hard to find chronic homelessness, and we're doing that in a variety of ways. One of it is, as we've talked before, Victoria, is the Salvation Army believes that it needs to apply innovation and creativity in this space. We're refining our approaches. We're partnering with UCI and the Stoplight Foundation, headed up by Professor Martin Bird, and where we are using creativity and innovation in dealing and case managing people so that we actually understand the very heart of who the individuals are, the situations they're confronting, and the challenges that come their way. And so by using an online platform to creatively and innovatively tackle homelessness, it enables us to operate in the space more efficiently and effectively. So that's really important for us. We're building our Center of Hope in Anaheim on Lewis Street, which will be a comprehensive plan and strategy to dealing with homelessness. From dealing with people who come into our facilities with all of their issues, with all of their challenges, and we call that the low barrier shelter entry, which is phase one. And as they come in, we help them by helping them reestablish themselves, helping them to get refocused, deal with some of their challenging issues and traumas. And then from there, we transition them into transitional living, permanent supportive housing, in as well as on that side, we have a 175-bed adult rehabilitation program. So the Salvation Army is all about transforming lives and doing that comprehensively.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. And this is something that you're currently working on right now. Is there a set date that you hope to launch that facility or that area?
Sorry, say that again, Victoria. I think there was a little bit of static on the line.
Oh, sorry. So, is there a launch date of that program or of that you called it the Center of Hope?
Sure. So the Center
That
of
you
Hope
expect that to happen?
Yeah,
Be ready?
that's a great question. We've already begun. I think we began more than 12 months ago in partnership with the city of Anaheim and in collaboration with a number of our friends in Anaheim. And we began that process more than 12 months ago. So already on that site, we have 224 low barrier shelter beds. Currently in the pipeline, we are hoping to expand that by an additional 101 more low barrier shelter beds that will take effect June 1st this year. So in less than 30 days, we will have already expanded our homeless shelter beds to 325. And then in the next period of time, we'll have our permanent supportive housing beds put up. We've already begun a capital campaign quite aggressively to raise close to $20 million, which will allow us to get our permanent supportive housing up, as well as for us to have on that site in a more prominent way our comprehensive services such as mental health, dental, medical, a fully equipped pet care facility, as well as space for various clients to come and be able to deal with trauma, whether it be psychological, emotional, or even addiction. So a lot of those are, so we are planning, we've already got architectural drawings done, we've got renderings done, and we're in a very critical phase. Obviously, the pandemic has perhaps slowed us down a fraction, but not totally, because we're still operational. So to answer your question, the Salvation Army, as known, we don't, maybe one of our worst attributes is we don't over promote who we are, but we've been actively working in this space for a long period of time. And so we've started from some day one. When the Salvation Army started in Orange County more than 135 years ago, we had already started dealing with homelessness back then. And I think our first facility was in Santa Ana, where we began homeless services in Santa Ana more than 135 years ago.
Nice. Yeah, I think I agree with you in terms of the marketing and how people hear about you. I think we do think about the bell, and
Yes.
it's just kind of ingrained in us because Salvation Army's been around for so long. But you really have changed and morphed to meet the needs, right? The growing needs of the area and the location. Talk about more. When we spoke preparing for this meeting, you talked about technology and the way you're addressing case management. You spoke a little briefly about it, a little earlier, but say more about how you're working with UCI and the way that you're approaching individuals that are homeless. And I know you also have your thoughts about the word homeless, but say more about that because I think that's something worth knowing about.
Sure, absolutely. Well, let me touch on the latter point you made, and I'll talk about the innovation. I actually don't like the term homeless because I don't think people were ever designed to have labels on them. People are people. They're uncles, they're aunties, they're cousins, their brothers, their sisters, their grandparents. People are people, and people were never designed to have labels put on them. So I don't like the term homeless. I rather see them as my friends, my neighbors, and I like to see it in that perspective. And I think that removes a lot of the stigma that we have in the space. In fact, a lot of the challenges we face is that people have stigmatized homeless to people that are drug addicts or people with serious mental health issues.
Mhm.
But that is not an accurate description.
Right.
Most people have experienced trauma in their life, and part of the outplaying of that trauma we see through people using various coping mechanisms. And that coping mechanisms could be alcohol, could be drugs, it could be a variety of different things. And so a lot of our friends, our neighbors, are dealing with trauma.
Yes.
But going back to where we see it, the Salvation Army is people centric. We
Mhm.
value a person. We believe that every individual needs to have their dignity. Each individual person needs to be valued and appreciated for who they are. And so, in doing so, our approach is by using innovation and technology, is to design a process where the individual actually tailors their own case management program. You don't need to
Okay.
tell someone what's wrong with them. Most people,
Right.
after you give them time and allow them the
Yeah.
space to reflect, will tell you, hey, my problem is this, or my issue is this, or my challenge or my obstacle is this. So, by
Uh-huh.
using this innovation technology that we have partnered with UCI and Professor Martin Bird from the Poverty Stoplight, we have been able to design a client centered approach to dealing with individuals. It actually
Good.
allows a person to come in and say, well, okay, in this area, I have little concerns. But this is an area, in fact, I've been estranged from my family for more than a decade. And as a consequence of that, it's caused all of these other challenges in my life. Or I've been estranged from my children, or I've been estranged from my spouse, or I've lost my job because I have an anger management challenge. And be able to actually work out what's a red line. Hang on, this is a really high uh, concerning issue and it needs more effort and work in, or this is
Yeah.
where it's caution. Hang on, this is not yet in that terrible situation, but it's potentially going to get there. Or green, this is my strengths. You know what? I've got some skills, I've got some trades. I'm really good with my hands, or I've got a profession that I previously had that I've lost. And so I'm really good in this. So helping people build self confidence, helping people rebuild their dignity and actually build themselves up is part of our approaches. Now, one of the challenges people will often say is, well, our systems and our processes are so flooded. We're just trying to care for people. We're just trying to
Yeah.
bring people shelter. We have no
Right.
time to deal with the other complexities. But I believe unless we deal with those complexities, we never solve the problem. We just put a band aid on it. So, hence why we've partnered with UCI and the Poverty Spotlight, and we've come up with technology that allows us to do this online through an app. The app works on Androids. We're hoping that we'll eventually get on Apple products, and then so that all of our staff through an iPad can help someone actually identify areas of strength, areas of concern, and areas of dire weakness.
I love it. And I love this concept of, because my background is human services and counseling. And so often, we're the ones taking the notes and we're the ones assessing and, doing the scales and asking questions, but to allow the client to be a part of the process and let them identify where they're red, where they're yellow, where they're green, in such an easy, it's such an easy tool. It's just three options.
Yeah,
And then they can see progress.
absolutely.
Whereas the other way around is only I see the progress or the case manager sees the progress. But it's important as individuals that we see our own progress.
Absolutely. Well, one of the biggest challenges is when you give people the tools to actually deal with their challenges, when you
Hmm.
empower them, then they
Hmm.
become the master of their own destiny.
Oh,
At
yes.
this stage, what our programs generally are focused on is we are in control of.
Hmm.
But that whole process actually creates another layer of challenges, and people talk about it. We institutionalize people. We
Hmm.
create people that become dependent, and codependency issues start to arise. That's not the way forward in this way. We got to create a system or a process, which is better, that
Yeah.
allows people to actually go, okay, I'm going to
Hmm.
move forward and I'm going to create a plan that's going to help me accomplish my goals.
Awesome. That's great. And so when do you expect that technology to come out or be ready?
We've already piloted it. We've
Oh,
already
okay.
done a beta test on it, and we're already utilizing that program now in some of our facilities. We want to scale it up and share it with other organizations because,
Oh, good.
one of the very heart of the Salvation Army is we don't believe we own the issues, but we believe it is our responsibility to facilitate partnership and help collaborate with others so that we can help solve the issues. Um, and so yeah, we want to share it with our partners. So at the moment, we're still fine tuning it.
Okay.
There's still some refinement that needs to be happening, but I believe we're probably about 3 months away from it being actually ready to be shared on a more broader scale.
That's great. That's awesome. I mean, at any time you can leverage technology to help with case management, I think that's becoming more of a need given with COVID. I think the days
Yes.
of the written document, while I know it's necessary from a safety and security standpoint, but we're moving in a direction where the more we can use technology, the better. So kudos to you guys for being on par or even ahead in when it comes to nonprofits. um,
Oh, you're very
what
kind.
so tell us about right now and COVID. So how are you guys adjusting to COVID? I know you're fully operational. Tell everybody just how you're adjusting to programming during this time of COVID.
So, Victoria, obviously, we're following all of the health guidelines and all of the, the advice given, 6 feet separation, wearing masks, making sure that we're wearing gloves and making sure that our staff are well equipped. Obviously, shortage of surgical masks and shortage of some of those essential items has put a challenge on our programs. But our programming staff, the issues haven't gone away. In fact, they've exponentially grown
Yeah,
because now with COVID and the fears of this impacting not just the homeless population but so many other parts of our vulnerable sectors of our population, it means that we've had to really work in partnership with FEMA. We have 28 FEMA trailers on one of our
oh
sites, which is now which is active in preparation for people who are showing symptoms to COVID-19 so that we can actually isolate them. We've also got our pop-up shelters that we've opened up in Santa Ana as well as in Anaheim, which will deal with some of the overflow as a result of COVID-19. We also have our anti trafficking homes in Orange and Buena Park, which are also working towards helping our trafficking victims because unfortunately they're vulnerable and they're susceptible to challenges from COVID-19.
yes,
So our anti trafficking programs are fully functioning and addressing some of the challenges. Our homeless facilities and our feeding programs as a result of COVID-19, we have now got drive-through through feeding programs in Tustin, Santa Ana, and Anaheim, which is working around the clock. We're getting more and more volunteers. Our partnership with LinkedIn has played dividends, and we've got great people from LinkedIn. But the demands on our resources has really put a challenge on us, and I think that's a big issue.
yeah,
Americans are incredibly generous when there's a crisis, but unfortunately, this crisis is affecting every single American,
yes,
not just the vulnerable and the needy. And so it's challenging us to think differently in terms of how we respond. But we're responding, and you know, we're doing the best we can.
yeah. And I loved, in responding, you're not just responding to the community, but you're also responding to your staff. In our pre-conversation, you said that you actually increased wages, correct?
We did, we did.
Because you considered it a hazard. Was it a workforce hazard
Exactly.
or? Yeah.
We felt it was appropriate that when we are asking frontline staff to work in shelters, work with people that are obviously putting themselves at risk, potentially putting their family at risk. So
Yeah.
we for all frontline staff, we gave them a 3% pay rise. Now, some
Wow.
people go, well, why are you doing that? I honestly believe the most important asset we have as any organization is your people. If we don't care for
Yes.
people and we don't value them and we don't respond to them, now, you know what? Some of our staff didn't even want the 3% increase, to be honest. But we felt And that tells you the quality of people that we have within our organization. But we felt that it was
Yeah.
appropriate and important to show them that we cared and respected them.
That's great. No, I think that's a great. I think it's just so important to be able to share that with everyone. That I mean, I know not every organization is in that position to do what you were able to do, but just putting it out there and talking about it, just letting people know that that you are in a very, this is a pandemic, something that we've never seen before. And if you can, then, here's one organization that did it and was able to do it. And I think that's a testament to leadership. So thank you for sharing that. So what's the future of Salvation Army here in Orange County? You've been with the organization for 3 years. It sounds like bringing a lot of innovation, technology. I know you've also had some new team members added and also moved up. What can we expect from Salvation Army in Orange County in the years to come?
Well, one thing, the Salvation Army is committed and has been committed for over 100+ years to the people of Orange County. Our commitment to the people of Orange County is that we will continually fight for those who are marginalized, those who are vulnerable. We'll continue to advocate for them. We'll continually do what we have always done best, which is giving hope where there is no hope. Because you know what? We are a strong believer. Where there is fear, hope will prevail. So the Salvation Army remains committed and to helping our most vulnerable and our most needy in this season and the seasons to come, so that Orange County residents and our friends in Orange County can be the strongest we can be. Because if we as a community are stronger when we are working together, and if every part of our community, I often describe it as a barrel. A community is as weak as the weakest point in the barrel. We want every part of the barrel to be strong and to be fervent and able to be resilient in moving forward. So you can expect that the Salvation Army will use innovation and creativity to transform lives, to empower people and help people see a better future for them and their children.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think that's it's good to hear just that organizations, even through this time, are still pushing through and doing the work, but at the same time still thinking long term. I know some organizations are only able to think right now and only able to focus on the current. And so you guys are having to do both. You're having to focus on current and at the same time think about 3 months from now and a year from now and what this current situation is going to do to the homeless population and to the populations you're serving. I forgot about your anti-trafficking programs, but I mean, that's probably a whole conversation in itself of what's probably happening to that population with the stay at home. So thank you for all of your work. Any last words that you want to share with the community? Everyone here that's listening right now are nonprofit professionals and potential partners. Any last words of wisdom?
I don't know about wisdom, but I think, Victoria, I appreciate your beautiful comments. And as we've already said, I think one of the key things for an organization in any crisis is to make sure and ensure that the culture of the organization is healthy and strong.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we have done foundationally here at the Salvation Army Orange County is work on our culture. Because a culture is the underpinning base or foundation that allows you to keep upright and to weather the storms of life, so that we are not driven by the circumstances, but we're driven by values that are deeply rooted. And obviously our values are Christian based, and our values in Jesus are strong, but our values in humanity, our values in empowering people and loving people and genuinely caring for people are really at the heart of who we are. And so I think that, if anything, I would say that currently, Orange County, we're living in one of the best parts of the world, but our values and our cultures really determine our future.
Amen. Amen. Yes. No, that's very, very true. It's about how we take care of one another, And I mean, even the whole having to stay home, that in itself is not, it's more about others than it is about us, right? We're staying home to protect others, not just to protect ourselves. And that is also culture. So I love that you bring up culture in an organization and how that can also feed out into the culture of society that we want, the way we want to live with one another. And I think it's very important for organizations right now to think about what culture they're fostering internally, because that then will also affect their clients. It will affect their mission. It'll affect how they're seen externally. So I think you bring up a really, really important point that yes, think about what are you conveying to people right now by what you do and don't do,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Yeah. So perfect. Well, thank you so much. This was great. This was one of more of the fun ones because of the technical glitches, but we made it through. And I'm glad that you were able to come on and share with us all the great work that you're doing in Orange County, and especially just this, the innovation, technology, how you're working with the population, and all how this really comes down to your culture and your team, because I'm sure it took a team to come up with these ideas, and it's refreshing to hear a leader kind of, give the problem up, right? Just give the problem to the team and say, figure it out, come to me. And we're in an environment now where we really do need we want the next generation to help us figure it out, because who better than millennials to talk about technology?
Absolutely, Victoria. That's why I love chatting with you. Yeah, no, it truly is. I think if I would say anything, just picking back on what you were saying, I think as the leaders in this generation, we've just got to hand the baton on to the generation behind us as quickly and as efficiently as we can, because we're facing times like people are saying now. There's no such thing as the norm. What we previously were doing, that won't happen. We're living in the digital age, uh, and we're going to have to really allow the digital beings, which are the millennials, to
Yeah.
actually take up the baton and run the race. And we've got to support, encourage, and cheer them on, because
Yeah.
it's going to help our future. And we're all about forward thinking. And I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate your views on this podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm doing my best. And someone actually asked earlier, so I can probably answer this right now really quick, what's inspired me to do this, and particularly through Facebook and live and these interview segments. And it's really so that you as leaders can get your story out there. I think our stories are being made right now. All of our stories, your story as a leader, my story as a leader or as a funder or whatever it is I am right now. But I don't want them to just stop after a Zoom call. I don't want them to stop after the 1 hour segment. I really want them to live on. And I just thought Facebook was the best avenue to start, and then, place it on YouTube or cut out segments. But at the end of the day, I think we all just need to tell our story, and not just personally, but your organization story, so that you stay relevant. And there's so much more going on, as clearly as you just, proved. There's so much more going on with organizations than just the transition. This has just been the bump and the hiccup to your forward progress. So your story, it's not changing. It's just being added to. And I think that's